life in 3 dimensions got me bent and got me twisted. I know I done said a lot, but I should probably stop pretending. I don't really hold the key and I can't really push a button. I just step up to the mic and try my very best to bust it, but I ran out of breath. It's tight in my chest. My feet just might fail. I can't stand the pressure.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Racially Speaking. I'm your host, David Phipps. And today joining me, once again, has not been quite as long as it usually is in between having this amazing guest on. But I'm joined once again by the amazing, the beautiful, the insightful, the Broadway junkie herself, my amazing wife, Kaitlyn Phipps. Welcome back to the show, baby.
Hello.
Hello. Burning the near midnight oil tonight.
As usual.
As per usual. Well, listeners, this is our, I guess we'll call this our Thanksgiving holiday episode. But to be honest, really the only Thanksgiving-ness about this episode is going to be that we're going to be discussing a film that came out during Thanksgiving week break
that we are thankful for.
That we were thankful for. That we saw. So that's really the only Thanksgiving theme you guys are going to get on this episode. And sorry that we're not doing Thanksgiving themed rating food, rating traditions. If that's what you're here for, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. So don't turn this off. This is going to be amazing. This is a great start. But yes, we're here to talk about this was just incredible, but the amazing
wickedly
latest,
talented Adele theme.
Wickedly, yeah. Okay, I'm not, man.
You set me up for that.
Yeah, with the dad, the mom jokes.
The double amazing.
The double amazing.
John Travolta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're here to talk about the release, or not the release, but the latest. Is it movie musical? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Latest movie musical adaptation of the amazing Broadway show, Wicked. Kaitlyn, we saw that. How many days ago was it?
4
or 5?
It's all a blur since then.
It is a blur. Nothing matters since then.
A whole week.
A whole week.
8 days.
Oh, man. Well, we saw that. We had an amazing Thanksgiving, by the way. We were in town. Weren't traveling. Families, we love you. We had some family here, but didn't travel, but saw Wicked last Tuesday night. Yeah, you're right, a week. Crazy. With shout out to Elizabeth Hughes, who was with us all week. Saw her. Had a great week. Amazing Thanksgiving with her. Saw this movie. This movie was amazing. Fantastic. Kaitlyn, it's a show that means a great deal to you as the resident Broadway junkie, as I introduced you as. So we had to do an episode. And can I just go on record and say that this was pretty much your idea?
No, just, I don't know if it was my idea, but just as we were watching it, I knew that you were going to say, we should do a pod about this.
You said you knew that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew that you were going to say that for sure.
I took that as this was your idea.
Was my idea.
Completely. But yes, I was, as we were watching it, was for sure thinking that and would have brought this up anyway, so we're both right.
Yeah, I knew your wheels were turning. I looked at you a couple times during some poignant scenes.
So I'm going to jump a couple questions. So which brings me to this first question. How is it that we've gone on this long and you've not brought up how much I would like this or should like this? I'll say should because I'll call myself out. We saw this.
Yeah.
Back in what we just saw because a picture came up, 2015.
9 years ago.
And I don't know how. It was pre you introducing me to musicals and getting me to understand how to watch them and enjoy them. But we saw it on Broadway.
We did.
And I retained almost nothing.
I think number one, you're a hater. And that's why we didn't talk about it much because I think it was pretty. You're a little.
I don't think
hater.
I hated it.
You didn't hate it.
I couldn't follow it.
You weren't into it. I saw no tears in your eyes during Defying Gravity.
No tears.
No reaction to One Short Day or The Wizard and I. It was offensive. I was pregnant. I was in a fragile state. So coming out of Wicked and hearing you not have a reaction to it.
That must have been
Probably
traumatizing.
guarded myself from bringing it up again, even though you are now a musical lover and you can get on board with it.
You think I'm a musical lover now? You'll give me that?
I think I will.
Okay. So I've moved past
I think
not just Hamilton.
Yeah. I think Hamilton and then In the Heights.
Oh, In the Heights.
Yeah, so good. I think it did you in, and now you're in.
Yeah. Okay, I received that.
Yeah.
I'm a Broadway musical lover.
I'll never let you forget that you saw Wicked on Broadway and didn't enjoy it. But
Yeah. Hater was strong, but I did not retain. I mean, going into the movie, you asked me and Elizabeth, so I'm going to call her out too. We're kind of on the same wavelength of really not knowing what we're about to watch other than the very basic plot points. Which
Elizabeth also saw it. I would just like to say that I saw it with Elizabeth as well.
Way worse for her because you guys are.
And then to say, it kind
people.
of is, but she doesn't remember stuff like that, so it wasn't that surprising.
Yeah.
But to be sitting between you guys, knowing that I saw it with both of you and neither of you remembering anything or knowing what was coming, feels, felt a little shocking, but also not at the same time. It felt exactly what the two of you would be like in that scenario.
I wonder what this says about you sitting in between two of your favorite people, having us both be in that place.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah.
Difficult?
Yeah.
You're just used to it.
I am.
That's trauma giggles.
Not big retainers.
Yeah.
At least not of stuff like that.
Yeah. Here's something else you love. You love when I give you hypotheticals and or make you rate stuff. So before we get into Wicked, I introduced you as as a Broadway junkie, which I think you appreciate.
Yeah.
Right off the dome, top 5 favorite musicals.
Well, you were lying when you said I like it. I like rating stuff because I hate rating stuff.
Not even this?
No, I don't. I love them all.
Can you
I don't
3
love
at
them
least?
all. Top 5.
Yeah, you don't
it just
love them
feels hard.
all.
I'll just name some. I love Hamilton.
Okay.
Should I name stuff I've seen? Because that feels...
Yeah, I mean, probably.
That feels a little braggy, but...
Well, you don't say how many times.
I won't say how many times. Hamilton's in the top 5. Wicked is Dear Evan Hansen, original cast. That's where we get braggy.
I didn't make you say that. That's 3. That was easy. Mm-hmm. I've also seen those 3, so I feel good.
Yes. Well, you saw them with me, so.
Right.
I mean, I remember being really blown away by Les Mis, but that was now close to 20 years ago. I remember loving... See, I'm just going to name random ones, like Putnam County Spelling Bee. I remember being incredible. Legally Blonde. So good. Legally Blonde's up there. It's amazing. Doesn't get enough credit.
I wonder how many people knew that was a musical who are listening.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Rent. Yeah.
Rent is really good. I've seen Rent. I don't know. I can't narrow down. It's really hard, but I will say Wicked is up there with Hamilton in my mind. Obviously, it's been running way longer.
Yeah, how long? 20, 30 years? 20 years?
Wicked?
Yeah.
Wicked's been running for 21 years.
21 years. That is crazy.
Yeah, it opened in 2003.
Crazy. Yeah. Okay, this was a movie musical.
Yes.
So, favorite movie musical, was this the one?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of overlap, I guess, because I think other favorite movie musicals are In the Heights.
Yes.
So really good.
Incredible.
Which was also John M. Chu
Same
as the
director.
director. A lot of the same team, it sounds like. And Rent is another favorite movie musical. Hairspray is really good. But yeah, I think Wicked, it's the best movie musical I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was certainly incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Right here. So listeners, if you are people that, if you haven't seen it and you don't want any spoilers, this is the point where we're going to spoil the heck out of it. But I will say this, is this fair to say? It's fun to see for the first time, I think, but it's not something, it's been out so long. The story's been out so long. It's not something that is, if you know what happens, it's not really something that can be spoiled, really. It's cool. I think suspenseful. Like I said, I didn't retain anything for the most part going into it, and I loved the suspense, but also it can be loved as a show that you know everything about. So it's not like a thrower that you need to turn this off because everything's going to get spoiled. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. But I do think if you know nothing about Wicked, maybe just, I don't know if you need to know anything. Like that, I feel like that would be fun.
You can go in blind.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It just was shocking to me that you and Elizabeth had seen a piece of art and totally forgotten about it. But
shocking to me too.
I think going and not knowing anything about it, even if you're not like a quote unquote musical person, would be a really fun way to walk into it. Because it is just like a really beautiful story. And it is so well done that I think, it would be fun to be immersed in that way without knowing anything ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So if you want to turn it off now, now's the time, and come back to it once you see it, which you 1,000% should see, and spend that $6 to $20 to go see it. Right?
Yeah, it's worth it.
Okay. Kaitlyn, so can you start broad? So can you don't have to give every plot point right now, but kind of a broad summary backstory of what this is for the people that we mentioned who might be going into this blind. What the heck is this?
Yes, this is the backstory of the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. It was a book written by Gregory Maguire, and then the musical is adapted by Stephen Schwartz, or adapted into a musical by him, and it runs concurrently with The Wizard of Oz. So, like, what's happening in The Wizard of Oz with Dorothy and the gang is happening almost at the same time as the plot of Wicked. So you're getting the backstory on the Wicked Witch. You're getting, okay, who is she behind the wickedness that we're presented with in The Wizard of Oz? What made her who she is? And you're getting specifically her friendship, and then eventual, like, their relationship grows into something else as they grow and change, but her relationship with Glinda, the good witch from The Wizard of Oz. And you get to see their backstory together, find out about their friendship, and them taking different paths in their life.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Great summary. It's almost like you've seen it a bunch of times.
It's almost like I listened to the soundtrack on my Discman.
Ooh. Shout out to Discmans.
Absolutely. A burned CD of Wicked on my Discman for at least 2+ years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Burning CDs. Also.
What
Shout
a time.
out to burning CDs.
What a labor of love.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by LimeWire and burning CDs. Napster. All right, that was a great broad summary.
Thank you.
You said this is your favorite movie musical. This is arguably, I'd say, your favorite musical as someone that's known you for a very long time and been introduced to musicals essentially by you.
Yes.
Why has this one resonated with you for so long? Because I'd even say that somebody going into this blind might even hear that summary and not be able to get there very easily with why this would be such a powerful story, more so than just an entertaining, interesting one. I don't know why would you say it's a profound story?
I think that is why Wicked is so incredible, is because, and that's why like storytelling is so important in general, is because you don't go into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to learn a lesson here. Like
yeah.
you're in it for the story and for the people and seeing like a deeper view, or maybe you're in it for entertainment, but ultimately, like a lot of times in good storytelling, we're seeing a deeper view of humanity on display. And that is very true of Wicked. Yeah, I mean, Elphaba is a lot of where her stuff comes from, and her like opposition that she faces in her life is because she is green, and that she's born green, and that she is noticeably, visibly different, and that you get to see how people respond to her. Yeah, how she like builds a mask for herself. Yeah, the trajectory of her life in pursuing what is right over what is easy. It just has like a lot of universal themes in this like fantasy world that also feels very relevant and real.
Yeah. I thought from a non-veteran of the show, watching it, I thought about people's like, I feel like our generation, we like stories, we like backstories in this era of all these sequels, backstories of villains, and seeing origin stories. To me, I can't think of another story that reminds me of this one, because I feel like a lot of the origin stories of villains, quote unquote villains, are more so you get a little empathy and you see maybe where they came from, but then a lot of them it ends up being, well, but they became really evil still. To me, this was really interesting because two things stuck out to me that I felt like were really unique, and I haven't brought this up to you before now, but I thought it was really interesting that when you meet her in this film, I assume it's like that in the show, but she seemed, at least Cynthia Erivo's interpretation of or portrayal of the character who played her, which she was amazing. She was really confident, I felt like, at the very beginning, before, like she was confident in who she was, and it wasn't, I don't know, I feel like in other villain stories, there's maybe like
kind of like a woe is me, or like, oh, how sad for them.
Right, and then the reaction is,
yeah.
I'm going to become a villain. And her narrative was really different. She was really confident who she was putting people in their place in a non-villainous way, just a confident way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And then,
I mean, she's got like some of her confidence is a mask for her insecurity, where she's like, oh, I'm going to beat people to the punch of what they may say about me because I'm not like them.
Right.
Which certainly feels relevant and relatable. But yeah, the whole deal with Elphaba is that she becomes the Wicked Witch through wild misinformation, like just from people believing lies about her. And yeah, I mean, this again, like we're deep in on spoilers at this point, but spoiler alert, the wizard is bad. That's also been true for like 80 years. So since the original came out, but the wizard is a fake and a con artist, and he's trying to like use Elphaba to take over, and he's taken over Oz. Through misinformation, through hiding behind like gadgets and pretending that he's powerful when he's actually not. It dives into this even more in part 2, because this was just act 1, part 1. But part two. Elphaba, that's the whole premise of the movie, is so interesting because it's saying like, okay, what makes someone wicked? Are they born that way? Is it thrust upon them?
Is it even, would you say part of the message, at least in Act 1, is she wicked, or is she just embracing that that's what people think she is?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of the reckoning with what does that kind of even mean?
Yeah, she said, okay, if this is your definition, I mean, she, again, deeper in Act 2, but that's kind of what she gets to midway through Act 2, is like, oh, if this is wicked, then that's what I'm going to be. If you think this is what's bad, it's her definition of good. Like Elphaba is, if you've already seen it, but there's this whole plot with the animals, which, again, you and Elizabeth did not remember at all, but it's like the main thing that's happening in the movie is that.
It wasn't the main thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's the main, it's like the
thing.
fight for justice in it. Yeah. Is that there are animals who are being silenced. Like in this world, animals they're like, what is it? Sentient beings. Like they can talk and they have jobs and they are
talking animals in the show.
Yeah. They should have rights. They have functioning brains. It is interesting because you see them in service roles the whole movie. But yeah, so there is this huge thing with this, and that is what the conclusion Elphaba comes to is like, oh, everyone is trying to silence.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, and get rid of the animals through misinformation. Mm-hmm. And she's saying, oh, I am not going to be about that. And if that makes me bad in your eyes, then that's what I'm going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. The whole perception kind of versus reality and what we think about what's even right and wrong is super prevalent. I mean, I'd say her fighting for the rights of the animal rights in the movie.
Different animal rights than like
different type of animal rights.
It's a different thing. But it's like the animals are being viewed as second-class citizens,
right? Which she identifies with more.
Yeah, because she has been
green.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she has been viewed that way.
And dealing with false information and rumors about why she's like that and the type of person she is because of, literally looking different. In this case, it's her skin color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of, you've touched on some of them already, but do you have some go-to quotes or like off the bat, favorite, like most poignant or profound moments in the show? Act 1. This was Act 1. Act 2 comes out, or Part 2 comes out full year from now, next Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So for now,
what we'll be doing.
Yeah, for now, Part 1. What were some of your favorite parts or favorite quotes that stick out to you? Obviously, not even necessarily just from this film, but have always stuck with you.
I feel like everyone, no matter where you're coming from, can relate to the idea of being like feeling lonely and feeling othered maybe. And maybe that is like, in Elphaba's case, it is her skin color. It's that she is different from everyone around her. So it could be that, but also like, that is just a common experience, I think, in adolescence is, okay, I'm not like other people or I'm not understood. Mm-hmm. And she's being really like made fun of throughout it. And to see her throughout Act 1 come to like make a good friend. Like friendship is such a theme in this. Yeah. It's not a perfect friendship, but I think kind of a real view of friendship, it seems. You see her make a friend. You see her come into her own. You see her like step into who she has been made to be in a way that like in The Wizard and I, one of the songs at the beginning, she talks about like, oh, one day maybe I'll ask, if I ever meet the wizard, I'll ask him to make me look like everyone else. I'll ask him to degreenify me. And the conclusion she comes to at the end of Act 1 is, no, that's not what I care about anymore. If I did have one wish, it would be justice for these animals who are being treated. Yeah, like second-class citizens. So yeah, just that change in her value system is really, really beautiful.
Yeah. So I actually like that because I can ask you this question because I didn't retain so much from the first time around and haven't been as immersed in it as you. But
yeah, I'm full in. I'm living my best life. I'm seeing every clip. I'm behind the scenes. Everyone's talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all that exists on the internet to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
It'd be like if someone just discovered LeBron James to me and brought him up to me. Be like, have you seen this guy? He's really good at
It'd be like
basketball.
if
Have you seen
everyone
highlights of him
realized
play?
20 years later that LeBron James was good at basketball.
Well, I mean, he's played for 20 years, so it's kind of like, it would be kind of like that.
Exactly.
But, yeah. Yeah, so you've also got kind of a chip on your shoulder with how much you've...
I feel really proud of myself for
yeah.
being ahead of the game.
You should. You should be proud of yourself.
There's also a lot of us out there.
Almost lost my train of thought. Oh, okay, so I didn't retain a lot from previous, at least seeing it, and, well, I guess that one time, and not knowing that much about it, aside from the broad plot. So what you just described about Elphaba and Cynthia Erivo's portrayal of her and prioritizing the rights of these characters and just her mistreatment and kind of grappling with wanting to be de-greenified, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. De-greenified, and then realize, no, that's actually not what I want. Man, there's so much there. It's so rich. I felt like it was particularly powerful because of Cynthia Erivo playing Elphaba.
Yeah.
Black woman, and with that theme of, it's literally, about her being made fun of, discriminated against because of her skin color in the show, but then her also being, as a Black woman, being able to portray that with that being her background, and thinking about, its characters most well known for being played by Idina Menzel. I'd wonder if you, seeing this interpretation, if it felt different from your previous views of the character, knowing who was really playing Elphaba, dealing with those kinds of themes.
I mean, yeah, probably. And there's something so different about stage where you're so far away and you're not seeing like up close facial expressions, and you can't take in some of the more minute disappointment. And yeah, Cynthia Erivo just gave this incredible like performance of her life, I think. And so I think there was no way you couldn't empathize with her more. But yeah, to know she I think is only like the second Black Elphaba. And to know that that's like the movie version that's going to be immortalized too is like really beautiful. And then to know like, okay, she can draw on her own experiences in a way that a lot of the other Elphabas couldn't. Like that is a direct comparison. Maybe comparison's not the right word, like a direct metaphor. Like she's not reaching, she's not having to imagine what that would be like. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where she is coming into the Ozdust ballroom and people are just openly making fun of her. And they've talked about behind the scenes how Cynthia just like drew from her own experience of times that happened to her. And I mean, they're all right there. So when she is crying, that's real. And the pain that you see on her face is real. And yeah, I think, of course, it's more powerful. And just being able to see all of it like play out slower even is really cool. But I do also think there's like a history of Elphabas. Like Idina Menzel is Jewish. So I knew she like drew. Yeah. It's not like it's all been one type of person. Yeah. So
I love that. I mean, I love that no matter who's playing the character, like it's about the character. So drawing from that, the Wicked Witches, it's her origin story, and then it's her dealing with her, the character's experiences. And I like that anybody can come in and play that. And like you've mentioned, anyone can kind of identify with some of the, bigger themes of being lonely, feeling like everyone has dealt with that in some way. I thought it was particularly just interesting / I guess powerful. Like you said, only the second Black actors playing Elphaba. And it's so cool that it is the yeah, like you said, the immortalized version, the movie, and just on a broader, wider scale is going to be the one that maybe the only one that most people see. I think is particularly powerful. So I'd wonder what you even thought about the cast in general, because there was also we haven't even mentioned Ariana Grande playing Glinda, and then Michelle Yeoh was I forget her name.
Madame Morrible. Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum playing the wizard.
Another daddy.
How did you like the casting? And it may or may not be compared to the previous casts you've seen.
I wish I could remember previous casts I've seen. I wasn't, the internet wasn't as powerful then. So I couldn't like sit and deep dive somebody in the way that I do now if I see a show. So I actually don't know who I've seen I think I've seen it 4 times, and I don't know who I've seen when I saw it. But there's just such a difference in being able to see close-ups. I honestly didn't look too much into it before it came out. Because I didn't know, but it was cool to see how much gratitude Ariana Grande had for playing Glinda. She was just like so excited to portray her, and like famously reacts when she finds out and says, "I'm going to take such good care of her," and it feels like she's played like a really complex, version of Glinda, where you have a soft spot for her, but you're also frustrated with her. Yeah. And I think that's like more real of what of what our experience could be in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can we unpack a little bit about her character? I'd say the main focus is on Elphaba's character, but Glinda, what are some of she's supposed to be likable?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is she so complex? Because you mentioned the whole thing is about their friendship.
Yeah.
Especially Act 1. What is, I don't know, is she supposed to be, maybe not likable is the right word, but you said both. But
that would be what she would want. Her greatest ambition.
Yeah, to be liked.
Would be to be well liked and well received, to eventually come into power because people like her, not because she wants to do anything. It's like the Hamilton, I want to be in the room where it happens. That's Glinda.
Burr.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
From Hamilton. Yes.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah. But not in a power hungry way, just in like I want people to know who I am kind of way. Yeah. So she is, she's tone deaf on purpose the whole time. Like she doesn't know what she says when she's saying it. She really does. There's a moment when Bach tries to talk to her and she just said, I just think that strangers are people or friends that we've never met. And she just dismisses him. So she has developed a skill in like being dismissive towards people. Yeah. She definitely views herself as the most important person in the room. And it's not until she sees Elphaba at the Ozdust being like really broken before her that she has a heart shift. But you still see a lot. Yeah, you still see her not fully getting it. Her priority is still her own like self-preservation. Like she's grappling with, I love my friend, but what are people going to think about me if I do the same things that she does?
And you mentioned power hungry, so why, for people that might not know the story, like why did she even befriend her at all? Because she didn't befriend her right at the beginning. It was kind of, spent a good amount of time making fun of her. So then why was it that she befriended her?
Yeah, well, it's the scene in the Ozdust where Elphaba is like broken and being bullied and crying. And this was so much more drawn out in the movie than it is in the musical. But that's where she decides to like be on her side and befriend her. But then the scene that comes right after that is popular, where she's like, oh, I know how I'll fix it. I'll make her well liked.
Yeah.
So she like loves her, but she also she never really fully gets Elphaba.
Yeah. Do you think, so how much of it do you think she really cared about her? Or
yeah, I do.
How much of it was because of being power hungry, like you mentioned. Like she also really wanted to be liked by Michelle Yeoh's character,
Yeah.
who, and so Alphaba was the one that was standing out to Michelle Yeoh's character because of
Her powers.
Her powers, and so Galinda, Ariana Grande, was jealous. So, do you think, what were you supposed to take from that? Because you jumped to, she befriended her because she felt sorry for her. I mean, I don't not remember that scene, but I think I still, if I had to paint with broad strokes, would have said, I mean, she did feel sorry for her, kind of, but I would still attribute it to a little more of the subtle jealousy / power hunger.
Yeah, I think again that's like what is beautiful about Wicked is that it's both.
Yeah.
And that especially the movie version of Glinda is so complicated. Like Ariana Grande plays it really well, and I'm sure that was like John Chu too, making some decisions in that area. But you see the entire, I mean, if we're like pulling it all the way out to like, okay, what is this in real life? Like she is an individual who is deeply conflicted. Like she comes off really shallow, like she doesn't have a lot of deep thoughts.
Glinda.
Glinda, but she wants to be really loved, and that's her main motivation, is she wants to be accepted and well liked. Power hungry, like the power hungry is because she wants people to know who she is, and she wants to feel important, not because she wants to do anything. So it's coming out of like a really, really deep insecurity. And Elphaba is fighting for what's right. Eventually, like that, she starts to learn what's going on behind the scenes. So she starts to go in a different direction than Glinda. And yeah, Glinda is not able, she can make, so it's the define gravity moment. Like Glinda has figured out, or Elphaba has figured out that the wizard has no power, that Madame Morrible's evil, that they are, abusing the animals, that it's all corrupt. Mm-hmm. And Elphaba's response to that is, you have no real power, wizard.
Yeah.
I can't be a part of this. No, I won't join you. And she invites Glinda into that with her. And she says, will you come with me? Think about what we could do together.
Yeah.
And Glinda doesn't answer. Mm-hmm. Which is like, so I feel like even more devastating to see here. She doesn't answer. She, like, you can see on her face that she wants to, and she's acknowledging, I could go with you. I could help you. But her own self-preservation is way more powerful in her at this moment than her love for her friend and her love of what's right.
Yeah. So the end, that moment you just described, was so powerful. Mm-hmm. I'd wonder even how you, again, having known the show for so long, you felt any different seeing it within this last week versus seeing it on, it was 2015 when we saw it, or the other times you've seen it, and how many times you listened to it. But again, as me being more recently being able to retain what we've seen and taking it all in. Whoa, don't knock over my mic. I just felt like it was such an amazing portrayal of some of the cultural moments we're in now. And I personally just could think of, I just personally resonated with a lot of that very kind of relational juxtaposition the two characters are in. And very much resonated with even what you brought up of the not answering type response, and how that, even, which it might sound surprising to hear, but yeah, it can feel even more devastating. Like I remember the quote from, I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. said it, but like the kind of complicit response versus, it wasn't that Galinda chose to just turn on her and have a snap decision and be against her. It was
she chose to not decide.
And remain neutral. And how, man, you can see in that exchange in the film how devastating just that is, just the realization by Elphaba, the reality, actually between both of them, the reality of like, this changes everything. And because we understand what is happening, like the two characters, they understand what is happening in that non-response, that it's devastating. But also there was another layer to it, which you brought up earlier today, when we were talking about it, of like, I thought Elphaba's strength is so crazy too, because she responded to that lovingly, and like doesn't feel like she, in my opinion, had all the reason in the world to right then be like, screw that, like I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But she still seems like she wishes well on Glinda and
She does.
understands.
She says, I hope you're happy.
I
They
hope
both
you're
say
happy.
that.
Yeah.
I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you don't live to regret it.
Yeah. Which is, I can't think of a better word, but so gracious, mature, like kind. When she'd have, I think, all the reason in the world to not feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not, I mean, obviously we're talking about it on your podcast because we think there's a lot of like tie-in with racial justice and with people's experience in the world. With race. And it did feel like a more poignant moment than I had ever noticed. But I never noticed that Glinda didn't answer, and instead,
really?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
I definitely didn't. No, and I think it was the way they really teased it out on film too. But yeah, that felt like, that feels like what conversations around race and justice can be like. Probably, I don't know, maybe especially in the church, maybe not, maybe just in general, but that moment of like, are you with me?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't answer, like out of not wanting to rock the boat, they may remain. And I definitely have had moments like that too. So I'm not saying it's not me as well, but
It's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, usually what you don't get is somebody being like, actually, no, I hate you. I think racism's good.
Yeah.
Like, usually what they're saying is, okay, that's great for you to have all those thoughts.
Yeah.
Or to have that action that you want to pursue towards justice. That's great. That can be your thing.
Yeah.
Great. You go. Go on your broomstick.
Yeah.
I wish you well. And Elphaba has this moment where she goes, okay, it's just me.
It's just me.
I'm still going to do it. And yeah, I was so struck, and I had never noticed before too, by her accepting it. Because I think what we talk about a lot is when that moment happens in real time, we're thinking, what? It's so frustrating. It's so disappointing. And I don't know what the right response should be. Definitely grace is always a good response to have, but in like understanding and knowing that people are going to come into their own in the right timing. But yeah, like Elphaba's response of, okay, I'm okay with that. And not then trying to convince her otherwise. She just realizes like, she's not with me.
Yeah.
I still love her.
She's not with me, and she's also recognizing her limits, I feel like, too. And also what the mantra throughout the whole thing is unlimited, but she's also, I think, realizing her limits of like, I can't carry this burden too. Like, she could care and want to spend time convincing her, but she's at peace with leaving it how it is, not wishing ill on her, somebody that's not with her when she really needs her.
Yeah. She says, okay, this is where we part.
Yeah. And then also literally tells everyone where they can find her.
Yeah. And like, I think I'm getting the order right. But right after they have that moment is when, they're being hunted down. All the guards break in.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get Glinda too. And that's when Elphaba says, it's me you're looking for. So she still is protecting her friend, who in that moment is not choosing to protect her.
Yeah.
Which is really, really beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like they captured that this sentiment, like you said, we're talking about this because I think there's a lot of parallels with justice, specifically racial justice, from looking at this, watching this film and taking it all in. I think that they captured that so perfectly and beautifully, and I feel like that's also backed up by people we've talked to, and then even like being on the internet and seeing how many people identified with, how many people of color, how many people from marginalized communities identified with the film and that scene, and how was just portrayed beautifully. It's like, yeah, that's how it feels. Like it's explaining a lot of whether implicit or explicit pushback on speaking up about things like justice, and it's really, they embodied and walked that out so well, and I feel like it made it really easier to understand. This is why it is more hurtful, or feels so hurtful, maybe not more hurtful, but feels so hurtful when people like what Glinda's representing don't answer or have a neutral, complicit reaction. And I've said this so many times to people in conversations, that like that very sentiment of saying, no, it's actually like those kind of things personally, like I can think of have been way more hurtful and impacted me in a lot more traumatizing way than the other things, which you said happen way less frequently than the other things that are just like overt racism. Which the flip side is people explaining, well, I'm not that. Like, I'm not, I don't think racism is good. It's like, well, I realize most people don't, but how that is often, when that's communicated like that, what I'm hearing when I hear people say something like that is like really low bottom of the food chain with, well, I would hope not. Like, I didn't think we were even starting down there. And so I felt like, man, that just was beautifully done. Defying Gravity, that whole scene of just like, okay, that's what it looks like to literally see a lack of courage or solidarity to be met with that reaction when you're longing for someone to be in it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Agree with all of that. Okay. I was trying to look through our DMs, which apparently we send like 80 a day of just memes, but
that sounds right.
I sent you one just from the many, I mean, I'm dead serious when I say all I'm seeing is Wicked on the internet right now. I learned a couple of days ago that that's not everyone's experience currently. Not everyone's algorithm has.
I witnessed that conversation. I loved your shock.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was totally shocked. I really thought everyone was living in the same timeline, that everyone was holding space. I thought everyone was here. Pretty shocking to hear that they aren't. So it's time.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just I think this is just a random person on Twitter, Leslie Grace Streeter. And I'd love to just walk some of this out. It says, saw Wicked, and there's so much to say about fake allies, people who love marginalized communities if they can steal their power and villainize them when they can't, and accepting that some people are never getting on that broom with you. Whoa. I don't know who you are, Leslie, but that was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of the examples, okay, so the first thing she said was fake allies. So you see that in Wicked. You see that Madame Morrible is pretty deceptive, that she's saying like, okay, this is for the animals' good. I don't even think I've brought this up to you, but the moment at the beginning when Elphaba accidentally like does this magic and Nessa Rose goes up and there's like an explosion. The big stone carving of the wizard explodes and there are animals behind it. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. There's like animals dressed as professors behind it because they used to be teachers and educators. And so you see that at the beginning.
Okay.
Just like a little touch of like, this is what used to be.
They're alive?
It was statues? Like, no. It's like a stone carving.
Okay.
And so the stone carving like busts.
Okay.
And you see that there used to be
okay.
a portrait of the old like professors of the school who were all animals. So you see that what has happened is that the wizard has come in. He has spun a story. He has taken control of Oz and Munchkin Land with his words, essentially. He has no power. He has no magic. He has nothing to offer. He has just like an image that he wants to present them.
Literally.
And part of him doing that, which the scene where he is walking through when he sings Wonderful, right? Yeah, when he sings Wonderful and he's walking through his little model of Oz and Munchkin Land was like such perfect metaphor for how he's the man behind the curtain pulling the strings.
Yeah.
How it's his world that he is controlling.
Yeah.
And he says he loves the people, but it's because he can control them. And then we see like the fake allyship and Glinda, the moment, I mean, it's so good in the musical too, and I remembered it, but when she changes her name from Galinda to Glinda, it is like, it's right when Elphaba is getting a lot of attention and she is about to go on the train to meet the wizard and everyone is so excited for her. Jonathan Bailey, who plays Fiyero, he has this moment with Elphaba where Glinda's like, something's up. He does not like me as much as he did before. Also, Jonathan Bailey, well done, well done. We love him now.
Best scene, most entertaining scene of the movie.
Yeah. Oh,
He was
incredible.
Yeah.
All three of us came out going, that was an incredibly handsome man, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I might have been the first one to say it.
I think you were.
Yeah, I stand by that.
Yeah. But anyways, he like Glinda is feeling the attention pull.
Yeah.
So what she does in that moment is say, I have an announcement. And she says to honor Dr. Dillamond, that this is, I'm hoping that you have seen this because if not, none of this is going to make sense. But the goat professor who has been taken away,
goat.
yes, has been like dragged out of his classroom, who is now not allowed to teach. She says in honor of him, he couldn't say her name correctly. He said Glinda because he has no front teeth because he's goat. So she says, in honor of Dr. Dillamond, I will be changing my name from Galinda to Glinda.
Yeah.
And everyone applauds.
Yeah.
And it was just like this perfect. Like,
That was so good.
Yeah. I mean, it reminded me of 2020 when it was like, okay, we're going to like all the businesses being like, we're going to post the black squares and we're going to write Black Lives Matter on things. We're going to put it on, the street leading up to the White House. And it's like, oh, yeah, none of that did anything. It was just like performative and maybe some of it was well-intentioned. Probably some of it is.
Yeah.
And like Glinda is well-intentioned, but mostly she is wanting people to look at her and say, great job. And I feel like there's a scene, we need to see it again. I need to see it 8 more times. But at the beginning, too, with Elphaba, where she does that, where she's like, I will take her under my wing. She just, like, keeps putting herself in the front. Like, she will say something that sounds good. And because the people are easily fooled, just as people really are. They're like, oh, great job, Glinda. We love you. You're incredible. So that felt so well done. And again, like John Chu, Crazy Rich Asians, In the Heights, like he's all about representation and pulling this stuff out and making a really immersive world. So it just felt like, oh yeah, of course he figured out. I mean, it's all there in the content, in the script already, but just killed it. Do you have anything to add on the fake allies? And part of that quote was, the people who loved marginalized communities, if they can steal their power and villainize them when they can't. Anything else to add?
No, I thought that was
monologuing.
No, I thought that was great. We didn't really talk about even as in Defying Gravity when she's leaving, she not only, she does kind of performative things there that I think are so beautifully like portray or exemplifying her just her, I can't think of the words, her toil, I guess, with just herself, like wanting to do the right thing, but actually physically not being able to push herself to do it. But she's able to, so she did some performative things there by giving, what she gave her the cape, right?
Oh yeah, her response instead of saying "I'm coming with you" or "I can't" is
she's like, "Here,
You're
take
so
this.
Cold.
Yeah,
let me give you a coat."
Yep, gave her a coat, and kind of like center packing. I do think that was a little different than the change the name thing. Like that was performative, but it was also a step further. It was like, oh man, she is so tortured. Like I'm just like, oh gosh, like. You can just, that's the one time where I'm like, man, I do. They've captured this so well. Like,
Yeah.
you do feel bad for her, even though you're also infuriated with her at the same time.
Yes.
And so, I hope that's the best example of like fake ally. But I felt like they also did little things. John Chu did little things that were, I don't know. I stuck out. It stuck out to me when she shortens her name and just calls her Elfie, which I think that that is like a side, like not a big deal. But I think of like some of our friends who I've known over the years that like that have names that we're not used to hearing, or that in our communities aren't used to hearing from, you know, different cultures. They're either used to having to go by a nickname, or people being used to, like, from our culture, that we're used to shortening names because it's easier for us. And so, like, I feel like the line in there was something like, she just says, can I call you Elfie? And I think Alpha was like, well, it's a little perky or something, or it's a little, yeah, it's a little bit perky. And she just kind of moves on. I was like, oh, well, that's it now.
Yeah.
That's super that's super common. Like, you know, in America, in American culture.
Yeah, but at the same time, Glinda has called Bach Bick multiple times.
Sure.
And she's insisting she be called, when Dr. Dillman keeps mispronouncing her name, she corrects him over and over and over again.
Even just that, not even just the shortening, but like the I'm right type thing about I'm
and that's
like,
her character,
yeah,
for sure.
I know I have the power to call people what's comfortable for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like even little things like that stuck out to me that I felt like were really beautiful. And I don't know, knowing and seeing that happen even around me in like our little communities, like I'm pretty like I both like giving out nicknames, but I also like calling people by their full names when I feel like they are used to just going by a nickname because of having dealt with something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't have a lot more to add on the fake ally stuff. I felt like that was, man, right on point. You knocked that out of the park.
Oh, thanks. I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's all I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the end of the quote where it says, accepting that some people are never getting on that broom with you, was just, yeah, I mean, we already talked about it, but it's
Sad
just
and freeing.
powerful. Yeah, sad and freeing. It's powerful imagery to say, like, okay, some people aren't going to come with. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot behind that's okay. But,
Yeah.
like, I thought that was good. Her being able, when she sees herself in the reflection too, and she falls at first, like, she doesn't have unless I'm very misremembering, I don't think I am, she doesn't fall in the musical. Like, she flies right away.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was cool to see that, again, that they teased out that moment that she is plummeting.
Yeah.
Until she sees the reflection of her younger self as a little girl.
Yeah.
In the building as she's falling. She remembers where she came from.
Mm-hmm.
That it's always been her.
Yeah.
And she goes from there.
Yeah.
Honors her young self. Who's like always been, has been othered, has been marginalized, has been bullied because she's different.
Yeah. We need to touch on, I mean, her family. How did you feel like was that pretty accurate to the story you'd seen before the movie with how her family's not good to her?
Yeah.
From the beginning.
The whole movie was so accurate. The only things nothing was really different. It was just given more depth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only thing was, there was something a little different where Elphaba wasn't supposed to be, like, in the musical, she's going to go be a student too. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, it's like, they make it a little bit more like, oh, she wasn't supposed to be a student. She gets, like, asked to be because someone sees her powers. So, which even makes more sense than the musical does. So, yeah, her family treats her terribly. Mm-hmm. Even her little sister, who she's been made to look out for her entire life. That's like her one role. Her little sister is like not.
It's embarrassed of her.
Yeah. And you see a lot more in Act 2 what that looks like too. But her sister resents her for sure. So
the real spoilers would be if we said everything that was going to happen in Act 2, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Any other, we haven't really talked about actual quotes. What are some of your big quotes that come to mind that maybe even people will know? Like, if they might not even know. Do people know what defying gravity is?
If you've been listening this long, yeah. I think everyone knows what defying gravity is.
You've
I
at
think
least heard
that's
it
the
in
one
Glee.
universal. Yeah, you heard it in Glee.
With
for
some of our
sure.
friends, shout out to some of our friends that said that's where I heard it the first time.
Yeah. And I think that's real.
Yeah. Do you want to sing a
honestly,
couple verses for us?
Not on mic,
Okay.
but after.
Okay.
I don't have any quotes, just some moments that we haven't mentioned so far. Let's see. Oh, I guess it's only a couple.
We've been pretty thorough.
Yeah, Bowen Yang's little ad lib.
Who's Bowen Yang for the people?
Yeah, oh shoot, I forget his character's name. He's one of Glinda's friends, and he is a cast member on SNL.
Yeah.
And he's so funny.
He's hilarious.
Yes. But anyways, Ariana Grande like really pulled for him to be in the movie, which is so interesting. Yeah. She called Lorne Michael and was like,
really?
Hey, yeah, because you're not allowed to film movies when you're on SNL. And she asked for an exception so that he could be in the movie. Yes.
Huh.
Is this when you stopped listening to the podcast that we were listening to together?
Maybe.
A couple days
Wasn't
ago?
feeling that podcast.
Okay.
I don't know why.
All right. Well, he also has a podcast called Las Culturistas, and it's very funny. Anyways, he apparently ad-libbed a lot, and one of his little ad-libs when they first meet Elphaba as they're walking away, and they've all just noted, she's green. And Bowen Yang says, I don't see color. Which was just like such a perfect little throwaway.
It was.
Of like, yeah, that's
Color
for sure.
bonds.
Still people say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was good. And then another thing that was so beautiful, The Wizard and I, underrated, by the way, underrated song, but just she shines so beautifully in that song. And there is a moment where it's the moment where she's talking about like, maybe one day I can ask the wizard to degreenify me. And I'll say to him, oh, that's not important, but okay, why not? And so she's kind of saying like, oh, it does matter to me. I'm pretending it doesn't, but it does. And it is, I mean, the cinematography is incredible. She is in this like, this is why I need to see it again. It feels like this little alcove and there's like stained glass. I think they're butterflies, maybe. There's a lot of stained glass. And the way she is moving, there is color reflecting off of her skin. And there is one moment right when she's talking about being degreenified and about her skin color that the stained glass reflection on her makes her look very close to her natural coloring. And it was just so poignant and beautiful. Like,
have they done interviews about that specifically?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but
Was that for sure something that happened, or did you just notice it?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Was it something?
Did that happen in the movie? Am I making that up?
Not did you make it up, but is it something that I don't know? I believe it happened, but
I noticed it, but I did see at least one or
it?
two other people online say something about it. So I'm not like 100% off base, but
I was gonna say, should you be posting about this, pointing out to everybody?
Yes, this is how I go viral.
Yeah, go viral.
No, I did. Yeah, I noticed it. I thought it was beautiful. It felt very intentional.
Yeah,
very, very intentional. And they have talked a lot about like the honoring of Cynthia Erivo in how they did Elphaba. Even her hair is all done. Her wig is all micro braids. They like were really intentional about like her Elphaba makeup look is different than the Broadway Elphaba makeup look.
Yeah.
And just how much care and attention went into, doing that really well.
Yeah.
Which was cool because obviously like her skin is different than 95% of the Elphabas who have existed. So.
Yeah, I thought the flip side, which we talked about casting, I thought the flip side of a diverse cast was even, I don't know if this is, I'm sure it was intentional, but as, I don't know, an observer, again, I think it's so poignant that Cynthia Erivo's, a beautiful black woman playing this character, but then because the rest of the cast was so diverse, there's a bunch of other racial elements in there that aren't in there if everyone's just white. So like it was a super diverse cast, but they're all united on making fun of her.
Yes,
and so
because she's green.
Yeah,
Yes.
because she's green. And so I thought that was another layer
Yeah.
to the discriminatory, like, oppressive narrative that she had to carry out
Yeah.
in her character.
Well, it's part of the fantasy
And-
world, right? Because it's like, okay, that also happens in real life, like
Yeah.
where where it's not just like white people are racist against every other race. It's like there's so much
Yeah.
like racial tension and history and
And history shows, like, someone's gonna be at the bottom.
right. Yeah, that's always true. Like there is going to be a community that is viewed as the lowest. And so it's just interesting because they're in this fantastical world where
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like race matters outside of the fact that Elphaba's green.
Right. That's
So-
much more eloquent way to say that.
Yeah, it just
For
feels
sure.
like part of the fantasy world that has been created.
Yeah. And again, they didn't, elaborate a ton, but I loved how quick, or I guess they did, but I mentioned this earlier. I still loved her confidence, that I just picked up on it from the beginning, even before. So she has an edge, I feel like, is a pretty confident person. Yes, with some baggage that's informing that, but she's confident enough to talk in the public square to everybody about who she is, knowing that she's the elephant in their room of everyone's just staring at her, and she's just embracing that. Like, screw it, I know how to answer all these questions that you guys are gonna have. I know how to address every joke you guys have running through your minds right now.
What a burden.
Before she gets befriended by Glinda, and then the rest of the story carries out. But I think that's, again, her confidence is really interesting. And then having her talk about, even mentioning maybe I'll ask him not to, or to degreenify me and stuff like that. Like, that's a real thing that, I personally struggle with, like, early on in my life. And then I've talked to many other people of color in my life who, like, that's a real thing to even deal with, because of something, of racism, to deal with literally, like, hating your own appearance, like hating skin color. So, like, that is, like,
Yeah,
I just want to,
wishing it
like,
was different.
I want to point that out, because I feel like that's something that, I don't even often talk about, but is a real thing. It's not just, hey, we're dealing with speaking up about, for people of color, like, dignity for our own self and communities, but also, like, at times goes through, like, times of, like, self-hatred. Like, I have multiple, black friends that have told me, like, oh man, when I was, like, this age, like, I just want to be white. Like, I hated being black, or I hated my skin color. Like, I can, as an Asian person, remember, I don't know if I even talked about this on the pod, but, like, wishing my eyes looked different, because I'm like, I wish my eyes weren't shaped the way they are. Life would just be so much easier. And so even just picking up subtle things, like, oh man, maybe I'll ask the wizards, who's kind of like, in this case, God, like, to change what I look like, if I get the chance. And so I thought, man, I don't know if it's because we've gone through too many we've gone in too deep on Cynthia Erivo as just a person and actress, but, like, I thought just her being in the role was so powerful.
Yeah. She was the perfect person.
Yeah,
to be there.
perfect casting for her.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande, also perfect casting.
Oh, she was amazing.
On the other end, she
Yes.
fantastic, amazing acting.
Yes.
And singing.
Such nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both incredibly talented, but yeah, they both played the characters with a lot of nuance, a lot of room to, like, both love and question and see their humanness. And, like, man, Glinda, even when she, like, walks away with Madame Morrible and she's chosen the wrong side, you love her and you feel for her, and she's human.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that just is the world isn't good and just evil. Like, everyone has both. And yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, that was incredible. We got to go see it.
I know.
Again,
Let's go now.
Again. Yeah.
It's midnight.
Is it 12? There should be like
The
a
last showing was at
late night-
10:30, just so you know.
Do you check times every day? Like you check
No,
Disneyland?
but I know that they've been. I kind of have an idea.
Okay.
Because I've been trying to plot when we're going to see, and our kids think that we're seeing it soon.
With them.
Yeah.
Do you think
because they
kids
Yeah.
as young as ours could get through that?
Yeah. I'm probably too hopeful.
So roughly
Millie
3
struggled
hours.
during this Taylor Swift movie,
Roughly 3 hours, yeah.
but that was a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it's 2 hours, 40 minutes. It feels like a tight 90 minutes. Like it truly did not feel as long as it was. Correct?
Correct. With the caveat that
Don't see it at 9:00 at night.
again, people that know me well know that I fall asleep very easily during anything that is, it's not things that don't interest me. I fall asleep.
For sure.
For
You
anything.
fall asleep during everything.
I made it through this, but seeing it that late, that long of a movie.
Yeah, we got out around 12:30.
Yeah, I'd say see it a little earlier.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
For sure.
They should
I'd
have
do
like
that.
it's probably not the right word, like a discount, like a matinee once it's after a certain time. At least that would
Have a discount for seeing a late movie.
Yeah.
That is terrible. They don't want you to be there. They want you to leave.
They're open.
Yeah. And then when you leave the theater, everything's shut down and creepy.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that you are okay with that, with how much you hate being in a store when it closes.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anyways, if you bring your kids, use your own judgment, choose your own adventure. The only part that's scary about it, I think it is excellent messaging for kids, and you could have so many good conversations, and it's like visually so entertaining the entire time.
Yeah.
There's like one tiny moment at the beginning that's like maybe a little bit, I don't know, on the edge. It's all PG, like it's fine. Anyways, there's something. The monkeys at the end are scary, just as they are in the real Wizard of Oz. The blue monkeys.
Yeah.
They'll get you. They're scary, but I think that's the only part that feels like tough for kids besides the length.
Overall, people should be spending their $17 on this.
Yes.
You say it's a good investment.
I think you should spend. I just told David yesterday I'd spend $100 right now if I could own it. Easy, done.
It was good.
It was really good.
I might do that too.
I just want everyone to know that made me realize that I forgot one of my favorite movie musicals, Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah.
Just want to shout that out really quick. Tick Tick,
Tick,
Boom is
what
beautiful.
is Tick Tick Boom?
It's on Netflix. It's about the life of Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut. Gorgeous movie.
Andrew Garfield.
Fun. Andrew Garfield plays Jonathan
I
Larson.
cannot love Andrew Garfield.
He is phenomenal, and he should have won the Oscar for it. I believe that was
I don't remember who won.
the Will Smith slap.
It probably was.
It was the same time. Yeah. I think Will Smith won.
I don't even remember.
Am I wrong? Hold on.
I don't remember. I think
This is
that
embarrassing
movie.
if I'm wrong.
I think the movie won, and it was overshadowed by the slap. So you don't want Andrew Garfield to have his Oscar overshadowed by that. Well, I'm speaking for him. Maybe he would take it, but
Hold on. I have to find out. Yes.
Will Smith won Best Actor
He did indeed
Oh,
win Best
you're right.
Actor
You're
after
right.
slapping Chris Rock.
after slapping Chris Rock.
Over Andrew Garfield, which I didn't see King Richard,
gonna
so
say,
I
you
can't say
you didn't see
anything.
King
But his
Richard, so-
portrayal, I think he should have won
It was
without seeing any of the other movies.
Yeah, it was Oscar worthy, and he got nominated, so it was worthy.
Yeah.
We did not
Maybe-
see King Richard or probably any of the other movies.
No, I don't think we saw any of the other ones,
so.
but Tick Tick Boom was just phenomenal, and I watched it every day for a few months. But
You did.
I really did. Just, maybe I'll cut all this end part. But the other thing that, just to zone in on one more time, is the misinformation that they highlight in Wicked is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels very relevant today. I think everyone's pretty aware that, with the internet and just the way news travels and the way news is reported now, misinformation is everywhere. And Elphaba becomes the Wicked Witch of the West because of intentional misinformation.
Oh,
like the
I'm definitely not cutting that.
Yeah, the moment where, yeah, I mean, you see it when Madame Morrible holds the umbrella over her, and like the rain is coming, and she says, "We don't want you getting wet." And she pauses. She goes, "You have so much greatness coming," or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And that's the beginning of the lie. Like, that's not really true that she's going to die when she gets wet. This is the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, here's a lie to make her seem like other and evil. And it's starting right now when things are good. And then even like, I mean, it ends with the wizard over the loudspeaker, right? To all of Oz.
Yeah.
It's the wizard, not Madame Morrible, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is. And saying, you know, this wicked witch, this is who she is. This is what she looks like. And
Yeah.
he just
Everyone be
fully
afraid.
spins a tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see at the beginning, too, that the Wicked Witch in her hat, in her cloak, the green skin, like they've given her warts, like just this crazy stuff is on like the wanted posters in Munchkin Land at the beginning.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of that, like, and it's being said to everyone, oh, if you throw water on her, she will melt. And so it's just interesting that takes over her whole life. And then that Glinda is the one unintentionally who gives her this image too. I don't think Glinda paints her into the Wicked Witch on purpose, but she is the one who gives her the hat and the cloak. So obviously that's like intentional by Stephen Schwartz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that, because she gives her in the movie the hat and the cloak, but at separate times, don't you think the intention is different during both times though?
Yeah.
Like am I correct in saying the hat was pretty ill-intentioned?
Yeah, the hat was super mean.
Yeah.
It was so that people would be mean to her and make fun of her because it was ugly.
Yeah, very mean Girls-esque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, yeah, that's great.
Hey, musical, see?
Oh, man, we
There we
almost saw
go.
Mean Girls.
Oh,
It was the
shout
day
out to
Broadway
COVID.
shut down, yeah. That was really sad. Don't talk about it. Mean Girls movie, musical, not that great.
No?
Parts of it were good.
Yeah.
Renee Rapp was good.
Yeah. Man, there's so many. I am a musical lover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to the listeners, too.
Yeah.
Or you're welcome to the listeners, what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to do more musical episodes on. Here's what I'm gathering.
Yeah. That's how you get me on.
Yeah. You were the most ready for this one, emotionally, for sure. The least amount of convincing.
I didn't have to research ahead of time.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about.
You've been researching for 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my best. That's where you want to catch me. I've got at least dozens of things like that in my life that I've been researching for 20 years. So just catch me on one of those things.
That's also true. As you can see from you knowing the movie times of tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we did it. Thanks for coming on again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Promise to
Let's
be
go
on.
see Wicked again.
Promise to be on in a year when part 2 comes out.
Yeah.
I'll still be doing this in a year, I guess.
I guess so. I guess you're committing. Whoo.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be on in a year, even if no matter what.
Even if what?
I was just gonna say, even if you aren't doing this in a year.
I always shut it down, but we'll come back for
Yeah.
a resurrected. Sounds too dramatic, but
Yeah.
what's the Broadway term?
A revival.
Revival episode. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is actually our last episode for the year. Oh man.
We'll just turn it into a musical podcast. There aren't enough of those.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
This is great. You're insightful, beautiful. Broadway junkie. Can you put that in your profile now? Okay. Well, along with LimeWire and Napster, this podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. Please consider supporting the show at patreon.com/racially speaking for as little as $1 a month. Makes a huge difference in helping the show keep going. Appreciate you guys for listening. Our artwork was created by Ashley Bush, and the music you're listening to was done by our guy Dylan Dent. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
The nightmare might scare you no worse than reality. They hunt you by day, R.I.P. Ahmaud Arbery. Everybody got a time, but that's less than comforting. I hope I'm alive by the time they choose to comfort me. Mosquitoes in the vein or leeches on my soul. This money on my mind is a fracture in my bones. You get crippled by continuing existence like a ghost. And they wonder why we drink, and they wonder why we smoke, and they wonder why we think that everything's a joke. I'm shocked that we can sleep, must be the thought of letting go.